A very good afternoon to everyone. Since it's a topic on cultural diplomacy, I have also worked as Director, National Gallery of Modern Art under Ministry of Culture for a few years. So one of the difficult points which I experienced there was, from where I want to begin this session is, that even today, when the whole world is marred with this aggressive posture, where when there's a lot of noise about I am better, I am more powerful, I'm the better nation, my economy, my markets are rising, culture has been left to a very shrinking space. Yes, indeed, there's also a positive side to it, as in that nations are understanding that shrinking space has much more of a value. It has increased much more. They realize that even if I'm saying I'm killing another nation, but if I don't tell the story right, the other one may pursue or perceive me as a victim or as a terrorist. We don't realize. So it is about the stories we tell. That is what culture is all about. So every action of ours is decided, how it will be perceived is decided by how do we say about it. So I want to know that even with my experience, I felt that we have been living in the past. We are saying that our culture has been the best. Yes, it has been the best. We are living in that nostalgia, but hasn't the time arrived now that we should, instead of just thinking about it, speaking about it, we should engage strategically with other nations with respect to our culture? There should be a strategic investment into cultural diplomacy rather than only discussions and glorifications. Indeed, a lot of things are happening. We've seen recently a cultural center has been set up in Paris. Things are coming up. But still, are we lacking somewhere in that active engagement, strategic engagement? That is my query to all the panelists. So please, sir, would you like to start?
Who would you like to start?
This question is to all of you.
Look, you decide who
Sir,
you want to ask.
yes, sir.
Well, thank you. You see, the topic is culture, diplomacy, and India's soft power. Now, what happens is that I would like to invert the question slightly. You see, when nations become economically strong, and when nations are strong, then their culture and their literature and their values are accepted. The fact is that as long as India was a poor developing nation, nobody really gave a damn to us. Nobody really gave a damn to us. The moment you become strong, the moment you are an economic superpower, the moment you land somebody on the moon and strive towards the Mars, the moment you have the ability to show the world that if somebody attacks you, you can do the same thing in a far greater and in a more incisive manner. When you have military strength, economic power, political domain, then your culture matters. Look, your Sanskrit or our Sanskrit, all these things were always there. You needed this country to have a certain economic heft before we could have thought of Nalanda. You could not have thought of Nalanda in 1950s. We could think of Nalanda only when you become very strong. And that strength, so there is no such thing as that you can't fix silos. In fact, since morning we've been hearing that, silo this, silo that, silo that. There are no silos. Languages and cultures become important when they are powerful. You see, there was a time when Sanskrit was very powerful. There was a time when everybody read Persian in this country. Haath kangan ko aar seekhe aur padhe likhe ko farsi seekhe. Because everybody read Persian. Everybody read English. Everybody read Sanskrit. Now people will start reading the language which is the language of importance. So today people will start reading Hindi. They'll start reading whichever language will become important. That will be followed. See, German was very important. French was very important. Spanish was very important. They lost along the way. They lost to English. Why did English become the most important language in Europe? English became the most important language in Europe when England became the more dominant country, and that was followed by the US of A. So the cultural power of Shakespeare is not the power of those 66,000 words. It is the power of the commerce which drove it. So do not believe the fact that you can only do your culture, culture, culture. Your culture will become important the day you are an economic power and when everything moves together. So I will not like to create any distinctions between these things. So that's my opening statement on the subject. It is a bit different from what... you don't need to promote Hindi. The moment India becomes a superpower, the moment money is to be made out of Hindi, the moment Hindi becomes the medium in which you can sell your goods, people will follow Hindi. What is Ramdev? I mean, Ramdev is selling products. He's selling products because he sells, right? So, the difference between the advertising of Colgate and the advertising of Patanjali, what does it show? As long as people were only buying Colgate, the Colgate advertising was in English. Now that people have started buying, why is it that English newspapers are losing their revenue? Why is it that people are moving towards the Hindi media, Punjabi media, Gujarati media, Malayalam media? The English media is losing out its relevance. How many advertisers do you find on the English channels and how many advertisers do you find on the regional channels? That explains the answer. Thank you.
So, ma'am, since you are writing a number of languages, so as I said, that time has arrived, or probably we've lost a bit of time already to strategically project our culture, not just project, engage with the world with our culture. So would a number of religious languages versus Hindi, would it be a hindrance or it would add to the cultural strength of India as a soft power?
According to me, culture is way of life. And it is not something static. It changes as the time passes. And also it comes down from generation to generation. Like I grew up in the family of freedom fighters. My parents, grandparents were fighting for India's freedom. So I grew up with certain values in life. For me, that is the culture, which I would like to demonstrate through my life. And I would like my children also to have those values, because I feel that these values are eternal values. Culture may change. Languages, of course, are very important for communication. Like I got married, I'm a Gujarati by birth, got married to an Odia. And at home, we continued speaking in our mother tongues. So my husband learned my language, I learned his language. And children grew up listening to these both languages. So they grew up speaking in 4 languages, Hindi and English at the school. And we still continue using these languages. So it makes us feel very much at home when we are with his family or with my family. And this is how I go on attaching more, like learning more languages. And I think it's very important to, it helps to connect with people when you speak in their language. Because I was working with the National Book Trust, and we published books those days in 13 languages, now in 24 languages. But during my time, we had to travel, organize workshops with writers, interacting with readers, understanding their reading ability, etc. And I could speak in their language. And immediately, they would open up. And they would tell me what are the problems, why they are not learning the language, or what are their difficulties, and so on. So I think in a multilingual country like ours, although we talk about Indian culture as such, but each part of India has a different culture.
Absolutely.
And it is not just the language, but food, festivals, everything, certain rituals, etc. Like when I went to Orissa, there was different kinds of things I had to learn, because I was born and brought up in Mumbai, which is a totally different, it is a cosmopolitan city. And going to Orissa at a small place was quite challenging for me. But I learned, and I mean, it is that connection remains forever. And I started translating Odia literature into Gujarati and Hindi, translated many poets also. So I think we have this opportunity of expanding our own life with this kind of multicultural dimensions existing in our country. Yeah.
Very well said, ma'am.
Anyway, so I think I worked in ICCR for more than 2.5 years, like close to 3 years. And the area was cultural diplomacy. And now since the topic is cultural diplomacy, I feel that I should talk about what in ICCR we do to promote cultural diplomacy. Because ICCR was established in 1950, thinking that there should be a separate autonomous organization under the aegis of Ministry of External Affairs, which will promote the cultural diplomacy of India. So there are like 5 wings in ICCR through which we think that, as Madam says, that everything is culture, the way of life, but we have just segregated it into 5 parts so that it is easier to deal with. They're very basic. The first thing is scholarship. How it is like educational, but in a way it is the soft power of India. The present Prime Minister of Sri Lanka is an ICCR scholar. So we are very proud. We are like building up them when they are studying. And most of them studies in India. People from Sri Lanka, Nepal, all the neighborhood. Indian destination of education very, very popular. We heard just now the principal of Delhi University and South Asian University. There's a lot of students, around 4,000 students every year. They come to India for the scholarship, and India offer 100% scholarship, including their return airfare also. Course fee plus some stipend also every month we pay. So that is also part of India's culture. That way we are like making them build their capacity and develop their human resources. So later on, they become like part of the, you can say that India's cultural ambassador when they go back to their country. The second thing what we do in ICCR is like taking the cultural, all the dance forms and folk art forms of India and kind of impaneling them. That is also in association with Ministry of Culture. And we send them abroad so that we display what India has to, like, our cultural diversity, as Madam was mentioning. So we have like all the 8 classical dance forms plus the hundreds of folk art forms of India. We impanel them. We have around more than 5,000 cultural troops in various art forms impaneled with ICCR, and we send them abroad in turn basis and required basis. They are sponsored by the local government. We work under the cultural exchange program, which is like exchanging our culture with that host country and their destination country. So that way also we are like into the cultural diplomacy. That culture bring you together. As Sir said, that we cannot work in silos. You see that after this kind of intellectual discussion and then a very high level political meeting, negotiation in UN, in the evening you will see a cultural troupe. You will see a musical play and all. This is just not to relax you, but to like, kind of display what, like, what we are here for. And then ultimately how like all these things culminate into a very softer end. So that is the thing, like, unless there is something, some cultural component, no agreement, no joint statement, no meeting, nothing completes. So culture, and we are very lucky that India has such a diverse cultural heritage we have, so we can showcase it every time. We are also started International Yoga Day in the association with Ministry of Ayush, and then across the globe, in more than 200 mission and post, we organize Yoga Day, and we have promoted yoga. This is again a very soft power, India's soft power and diplomacy, yoga diplomacy. Now, in every country, you will see that there are some Indian yoga teacher there and then teaching yoga to the locals. So that way I feel that this is a very good way to promote yoga. And this present government has done amazing. In 2014, they just, put into the UN resolution that 21st of June will be celebrated as International Yoga Day. And since then, we have celebrated like more than 16 yoga days till now. 11 yoga days, sorry. Then we have also Annapurna certificates to be given to the Indian food through ICCR. We have like fellowship given to the foreigners who wants to study Indian Vedas and culture. All these things, we are like, we are not working in silos. We are in association with so many ministries. We have like Archaeological Survey of India. We working with them. We have been working with Ministry of Culture. We are working with Sahitya Academy. We are Alalit Kala Academy, NGMA. Then also the state government. This is a very noticeable achievement. I just think that for me personally and for ICCR, we have done in last 3 years, we have signed an MOU with the state government. 25 state government, we have signed an MOU. Thereby, we are like engaging them, taking their cultural troops, identified by them, taking them abroad so that state culture, like folk culture, can be promoted outside. So these are the cultural diplomacy through which India is trying to project itself as a powerful country, as sir said. And maybe we can do more. We have busts and statues. We do exhibitions abroad. So at any point of time, there are like 12 exhibitions abroad by ICCR being displayed all over the world. Obviously, ICCR is just an organization. It cannot, India has a population of 1.4 billion. And world is so big. We need more and more public organization, community organization to promote India's cultural diplomacy and soft power.
Thank you, ma'am. So, but we are doing a lot. Every ministry, every department is doing a lot. But who is the ultimate consumer? The consumer, especially the youngsters, our diaspora, they now consume culture very differently. Everyone is on their screen. They want it in shorter spans, shorter screen time, with a very, the encapturing hook. So the consumer has changed. So, sir, my question to you is, now since the consumer has changed, so we officers also need to change. So,
I think, let's ask ourselves some more difficult questions.
Yes, sir.
K-pop runs,
Sir.
not just because of the government of Korea, it does well because of K-pop. Much greater contribution has been done by Bollywood, by the Chopras and the Khans, sorry
Definitely.
to include the Chopras and the Khans, than anybody else has done. I mean,
Yes,
the Hindi
sir.
division or the Punjabi division cannot do, because you see the way ideas are consumed, the way thoughts are consumed, and it is the new technology of Bollywood. I mean, look at the show which Bollywood puts up. I mean, that is, in fact, the best show that we put up is the Republic Day. I think the best soft power that we put up is actually the Republic Day, because that showcases the best. That is something people love to come to. That is the only government function to which people ask for a pass. Otherwise, you have a problem in filling spaces. You know it, and I
Yes,
know
sir.
it.
Absolutely.
You can put up a great retrospective at MGMA. You and I know
Nobody comes.
what happens there, right? Setting up, look, there are 2-3 things. Having exhibitions, doing things is one thing, but look at the way, and we have to compete with China. And look, how do we compare ourselves? When you look at the number of people studying Mandarin today across the world, and when you look at the people studying Sanskrit today, I mean, I don't have to give you an answer. The answer is there. The answer is there because there is a value to be found in reading Mandarin. Now, that value in reading Hindi and in reading our languages will come with the passage of time, we are moving ahead in that direction. There's no problem in it. I mean, she's doing a great job. All of us are doing a great job. But the core of it, to think that, I'm making a statement which is with all gravitas, if we think that culture will give us power, that is not true. It is a soft power. In fact, in the very definition of the term, it is soft power. So soft power means that along with other power, you must have this power also. But this power is not a substitute for power. This power is not a substitute for power. I mean, Iran has great cultural depth, great civilizational depth. Can you compare the civilization of Iran with the civilization of USA? Quick comparison? Hai? There is no comparison between what all Persian is given, what Ferdowsi is given, what all these people are given. I mean, it's a very old... But when it comes to real physical hard power, how many votes will Iran be able to garner? How many votes will Iran be able to garner? And how many votes has the US been able to garner? I mean, no sympathies of Mr. Trump, but the fact is that Mr. Trump and US of A define the world. They define the world. The fact is that all of us, as was discussed in the morning, are rushing to go to Harvard, we're rushing to go to Cornell, we're rushing to go all these places, because along their economic power defines their cultural power. And what I want to tell you is that because in the last 10 years, we've started doing well. In fact, we started doing well only after 1991. It's economic liberalization which has given us the thing. And let's also not forget that today, a lot of Indian students are being retained in India because of these private universities. Let's accept the fact, right?
Right.
So whether it is O.P. Jindal or Ashoka or Shiv Nadar, also because, as was said by Amarjeet in the morning, it is very difficult to get into DU. I mean, getting into DU is so difficult. You the CUET exam and all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that our entire engagement with literature, with culture and everything will emerge from our economic power, and we have to focus on that, concentrate on that, and with that other things will follow. So it is not to underestimate the role of languages, but to think that languages will give us global power, I somehow or the other will not be able to accept this idealistic proposition. It is too idealistic a proposition. It is not a real world. It is not a real world situation. That's the way I look at it. And I could be wrong, but that's the way I look at it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I fully agree with him. And as I had said, that culture has also changed. And it's not the language that we are talking about. Times have changed. Book reading has decreased. But people are reading books, audio books, visual books, podcasts are going on. So, medium has changed. And that is the soft power. For me, diplomacy is dialogue. That anything can be resolved with positive dialogue. And as I said earlier about the Gandhian philosophy, that truth and non-violence, where dialogue works, where both these can be applied. And he managed to, through dialogue, resolve many conflicts in the world, including between India and the British Empire. So,
I'm slightly skeptical about that because,
anyways, that is not the topic of the day.
Also because, you see, soft power has not been able to resolve. I mean, the fact is...
Soft power...
No, not soft. I mean, dialogue and diplomacy is all very nice. It is all very good. But when it comes to the crunch, as she will agree, when it comes to the crunch, your moral authority, I mean, where is the moral authority in half the things that are happening in the world? What is the moral authority
in
in
India?
This?
Why talk about the world? Even in India, in our own neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, all this is happening because there is no dialogue.
Well,
Each one thinks that I am right and you are wrong.
Okay,
that is the problem.
Okay, I think let's
yes.
give it back to the
Exactly. Yeah, we don't agree on this.
Yeah.
But ma'am, we can't even take away everything from culture. There have been certain meeting tables where we must have been like literally fist fighting, but before the meeting or after the meeting, somebody would come up to me and say, I love Shah Rukh Khan. So that culture always stays there. It may not be that effective, but it always has an impact on perception of a country, perception of its people, its values. So it cannot be, I believe, so, truly left to doing nothing. It would always.
We have to do. No, look, I never meant to say that we have to do nothing. What I'm saying is that this overemphasis or this over-enthusiasm or this belief that, if we were to teach Sanskrit in the world or if we were to teach, English or Punjabi or Gujarati in the world, people will start following us. That is not the thing. People in the world, why go far? I mean, you and I buy products because sasta, sundar or tikau. We buy things which are good. We buy things because there's a value for it, right? So that's same thing with the world. People will do business with you because it makes sense. You will not buy, how do we buy our petrol? How do we buy our uranium? How do we buy our fertilizer? We don't buy fertilizer. We trade with everybody in the world. We have said so many times that we can buy oil from you, we can boil oil from there just because Russia has a better ballet dancing or Russia has a university. We're not going to buy oil from them. We're going to buy oil, we're going to buy a fertilizer, we're going to do everything. We're going to do our IT based on what makes the most important economic sense. So this is a very important soft power. This along with, it's an embellishment. It is something which adds to the beauty. It's something which adds to the grace. It's something which adds to the dignity. But your core decision...
Does it add to the value, sir?
No, it adds to the value. But the core thing cannot be taken... We cannot take away from the core side. Look, it's like, put it very simply, it's the extracurricular activity. You will not get admission into CUET. Because the CUET or the UPSC is not checking how good you were in sports, is not checking how good you were to other people. In this competitive world, repeat, from CUET to UPSC to the NEET exam to the law exam, what matters is what can be measured, what is measured is what is counted, and the rest are all additionalities. Now that is not to underscore the rest, but to bring in the primary importance of economics and military power into the discourse. It may not be the best thing. It is not right. I'm not saying it is the right thing.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that that is what is. So that's the difference between taking a realistic position and taking an idealistic position. I agree with ma'am that, the Gandhian ideals are very important. All these things are very important. But let's also remember that the freedom to this country came also because of the World War, because the British Empire had collapsed, because of the naval mutiny, because of so many other things, because of the Azad Hind Fauj. Now, all these factors are important. So not one factor, but what is the most important factor that cannot be lost sight of?
Sure, because the times have changed. Everything is counted according to money power, as you rightly said, military power. How many people you can employ. Why do we forget all that,
To add to your point, I'm sorry, I'm skipping my term. You see, the reason why Mahatma Gandhi's greatest significance was that he attacked the economy of England. It was, forget the moral force. It was, what was Swadeshi? Swadeshi was actually hitting out at Manchester. It was hitting out at the economic power. When he said that do not go to the university, set up your own Vidyapeeths. Mahatma Gandhi is a different level altogether. He was challenging the very hypothesis and he was challenging the economy. Salt. Right. Look at salt satyagraha. What is the salt satyagraha? The salt satyagraha is making you realize that you are spending a lot of money on salt which you need not spend. So that was that aspect of Mahatma Gandhi which made him so important. Because before him also, in terms of speech making, Gandhiji was a very poor speech. He couldn't speak very well. He was a poor orator.
Very well.
But no, when you compare it to no.
I don't agree there at all.
Maybe initially.
All right, but when you
No, English. He was an advocate. He was a barrister.
Initially, maybe
when
he
you
was
compare,
not.
I'll tell you. Let's put it in a comparative
he
frame.
was soft-speaking person.
What I'm saying is that he is not
he
the
was
person.
not shouting at people.
Not like Bal, Pal, and not like Tilak. He was not like Tilak. He was not like Lajpat Rai.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that he was not what was his greatest strength? His greatest strength was the ability to understand what hits the British Empire the most. And what hit the British Empire the most was the salt satyagraha and Swadeshi. These were his two very important contributions. His rejection of the English system and said, set up your own Vidyapeeth, and the abolition of untouchability. These were the four very, very important factors for which Mahatma Gandhi has to be given the highest possible respect. But to say that the freedom of this country came only because of these four is also not true. There are other factors also. That's what I'm saying.
Sure,
We have to take a 360-degree view
There are
of it.
many other factors,
Many
no
other.
doubt about it. But it is not just the money
Yeah.
power that you are talking about.
And plus, so his
Otherwise, why should there be a debate?
his thoughts reached those days to common people only through the newspaper or the language, as we may say. So everyone, both the sides will continue together. They'll walk together hand in hand. So, ma'am, one more question, since most of us are bureaucrats here. So, sir, I also did my FC in Labasna. So, our bureaucrats or officers, we at those institutions, it's all about song and dance. That is what the cultural education is. You know, we don't have a system where we can, actually, nobody taught me Nalanda. I come from a city of Chandigarh. I had no connection with Nalanda. I was never taught anything about it in FC, any of my postings. No one ever talked about it. So isn't it high? I mean, cultural literacy should also be a part of our, if not curriculums, at least when we join. We are not aware of our culture ourselves. This is what, sir, can you believe it? My first posting in Delhi as NGMA, that was the first time I visited NGMA. I was so ashamed about it. So where are we lacking? Is it an institutional problem or a storytelling
Whatever
problem?
we need to teach should be put in the prelim syllabus and people will follow it. I mean, anything can be taught. I mean, whatever you want to teach this country, whatever you want to teach should be made part of the prelim syllabus and everybody will read it. 15 lakh people will read it every year. The purpose of the foundation course in the academy is to make you open up.
Yes,
The
sir.
purpose is to make you friends with each other. So when you are doing the A.K. Sinha Memorial Play, it is not the play which is important. It is the fact that you're getting together for the first time. And you're sent on the Himalayan trek. It is not to make a Bachendri Pal out of you. You cannot, I mean, no offense to you, you cannot be Bachendri Pal.
Sir.
I cannot be a Tenzing Norway, nor can she be. The purpose of the FC is very different. The purpose of the FC is to open up, is to break out, is to make friends, is to shed the shyness that we get, and to make friends. So that is the purpose. And the biggest problem which any director of the academy faces is, ye bhi padhao, ye bhi, to exclude kya karenge? You tell me this.
So
the
sabse
army
pehle
chap
culture
says,
exclude ho
what should be excluded? You tell me what should be excluded. We're
Right.
going to teach them disability, we're going to teach them human rights, we're going to teach them gender rights, we're going to teach them about ex-servicemen. BSF says, mere pe bhi likho. I mean, what all do we teach? So what do we exclude? And today it is a matter of interest and attitude,
Yes, sir.
which is the most important thing. And I think it is this attitude that all of us have to do. It is that inquisitive attitude. It is that attitude of wanting to know more and to question more, and also to accept the fact, as ma'am is saying, and as I am also saying, that it is not just one factor, but many factors. Many factors. The strength of the country and the pride of our country is the fact that, let me do a little quiz here. And I can be rest assured that nobody will succeed in that quiz. There's a prize of 500 rupees to whoever does it. Give me the names of all the languages in which 500 rupees is written on the 500 rupee note. Wrong.
80.
Anyway, the answer is not about, it's like the Battle of Panipat, the three, but I want to know which are those languages, including the panelists, except me, I know the answer. Which are those 70 languages? Like, Mahesh, no cheating.
Not allowed, not allowed.
Not allowed in the first row. You have to be in the second last row. Yeah, that's right. She's right. The 17 is right. But if you can tell me those 17 languages, then I'll give you 5.
I hope you don't have a phone in your hand. Let me be assured of that.
Anyway, so I'm. So this is a general conversation. So I just
Right, sir. No, sir, I understand the limitation, but ma'am, still, early on in your career, I mean, administratively efficient and culturally literate. I mean, will culturally literate be never required, or it is the right time to acquire it, or administrative efficiency is far more important? What is the...
In my view, I think we require a well-aware and very, you can say that, sensitive person to handle culture. And or if you're not sensitive, I think culture job is to make you sensitive. So moment you start handling culture and India's cultural diplomacy, you will become very sensitive, not only to your country, to your people, your culture, but to the outside world also. For example, you might have read in all this WhatsApp and this thing that what you should not gift to Chinese. So, like anybody knows, one should not gift watch to Chinese, something like that. So, we have to be very careful what we are talking, how they are like sensitive. In China, since I'm in foreign service, I tell you an incident. In China, when you are like going and eating with them, they keep filling your plate, right? And in India, we feel that we should not leave any food in the
Exactly.
plate. We keep finishing it and they keep adding it. So I asked why. So then the answer was in China, unless and until you leave some food, they feel that you are still hungry and then they keep feeding. Then I was in Japan. Japan is just reverse. They went through a famine in 1945 and after that they become like very, sensitive that the food should not be wasted. They are not only finish the food, you clean the plate also. That shows the respect towards the guest. So every country has a different ethos and different culture. When we are dealing culturally with them, we have to be very, careful what we are talking, how we are talking. Are we really imposing ourselves on them? India is a great country. We are having cultural diversity. Maybe we are dealing with a country which has only one culture. There is a monochromatic country. But we could not be telling again and again in our talking point. See, India is a big country. We are and then they will be offended. I think that is very important how this thing in the neighborhood, when we are dealing the neighborhood, we forget that our neighbors, all of our neighbors for that matter, are smaller in size, smaller in population, and obviously their culture is not as diverse as Indian culture. So I always feel that we should be very careful when we are dealing on this thing. I'll just make it a point that when you are talking about that culture is an extracurricular activities sort of thing, there can be some cultural products. For example, what we are doing today is trying to take out some cultural products from this Nalanda dialogue. How Nalanda can be again useful. In the back of our mind, the idea is how we can make Nalanda more relevant and then even little relevant in today's world. So what are the cultural products India can think of and then make it at the world level? I already spoke about yoga. Yoga has been very, very popular. It can help in giving employment to many Indian youth who are interested in doing yoga, practicing yoga, going abroad and teaching yoga on their own, taking online classes and all. So the nature of job and nature of job seeker has changed. So that can be one this thing. Again, this cultural thing. You see with the OTT coming up, people are interested in writing, script writing in Hindi, in regional languages. So this has given some kind of avenues to those who are studying humanities, those who are studying Hindi, Punjabi or regional languages. तो regional languages का जो danger था लुप्त होने का, वो मुझे लगता है ख़त्म हो गया. अभी बॉलीवुड ही नहीं, बॉलीवुड तो उसने एक रास्ता दिखाया कि ऐसे किया जा सकता है. अब इतना सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म आ गए, इतना सारा OTT आ गया कि जो कल्चर आप बात कर रहे हैं वो एक प्रोडक्ट बन गया, एक बहुत बड़ा प्रोडक्ट बन गया एंड देन इसका बहुत बड़ा वैल्यू है. इसका वैल्यू इतना ज़्यादा है कि अभी इसको क्वांटिफाई करना ही मुश्किल है. वी कैन जस्ट थिंक कि हम लोग और इसमें और क्या क्या कर सकते हैं. हाँ, और जैसे आयुष है, इंडिया का ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन है. डू यू नो इन इंडोनेशिया मेडिसिन को दारू बोलते हैं और दारू शब्द जो है वो संस्कृत से निकला है. दारू का मतलब होता है दवा काइंड ऑफ थिंग. दारू मतलब तो आई डोंट नो क्या होता है पर
ठीक है
सर
दवा दारू इज अ कॉमन वर्ड
Come on, come on.
दवा दारू तो बोलते हैं हम
you
हिंदी में
can't, you can't say that you don't know the
सर
different kinds of
दारू
wines.
दारू है सिनोनिम दवा का तो आप देखो इंडोनेशिया में जो उनका ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन है वो मेड ऑफ टर्मरिक, हाँ, उसको दारू बोलते हैं वो लोग. और दैट दारू यू विल नॉट बिलीव, टर्मरिक में सब लोग को पता होगा देयर इज एन कंपोनेंट कॉल करक्यूमिन पाया जाता है उसमें. सो कच्चे हल्दी में और पाया जाता है. सो वी आर इम्पोर्टिंग दारू फ्रॉम इंडोनेशिया. देयर कैन बी लाइक यू नो दिस आर द प्रोडक्ट्स वी शुड लुकिंग एट व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द कल्चर. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कल्चर इज सच अ बिग एरिया दैट यू नो उसको 15 मिनट में
नहीं
और
किया जा
ये
सकता. मैम, आप
कवर नहीं
कुछ कहना
किया
चाह
जा
रही थी?
सकता. सो आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट कल्चरल प्रोडक्ट्स. थैंक यू.
मैं ये कहना चाहती थी कि हम लोग जैसे नेशनल बुक ट्रस्ट में
जी,
बहुत ट्रांसलेशन की बहुत बड़ा प्रोग्राम है. तो सम बुक्स फ्रॉम one Indian language is translated into other Indian languages. And while doing that, we realize that there are so many cultural differences even within the country. But through that, you come to know the culture of the other.
Right.
And that brings us together.
बिल्कुल, ma'am.
So translation has a very important role to play in any country where there is cultural diversity.
So my last question, ma'am, to you, that as sir has painted a bit gloomy picture.
No. Please,
No, sir. Sir, ma'am, so will languages, will books, especially since I am also an author, will they survive the test of economic upsurge which we need till we reach that level? Will our books, will our languages be able to survive that long? And also the attack of AI, authenticity, and the short attention span. Will books survive?
I think books will always survive. There will be people who are attached to the printed pages. We like to turn the pages. We like to write in the margins. We like to underline what is important for us.
Right, ma'am.
So that will always remain. That's what I feel. Maybe you go to like AI, you said. That has impacted some writers also. They like to go to ChatGPT.
Writers are abusing it.
Yeah, but then you can make out that this is not coming from the heart. It is coming from somewhere else.
Right.
And that will not survive for very long because there will be repetition of similar ideas or ideology or language or certain phrases which are taken from that kind of speaking from one's own heart has a very special alchemy.
Absolutely, ma'am.
And that will always survive.
And nothing can beat that.
Very soon you will, all columnists will have to write a statement saying that no help was taken
Yes.
from ChatGPT. They'll have to write it. Because, and in fact, a lot of very big names, very prominent names, I'll not disclose them here. I can tell you privately.
Yes, sir. I would love to know.
India today has now found out that, they were not writing themselves. A lot of these very prominent names, including, godmen, conmen, and many people of that sort. So they were making use of ChatGPT, but then you get caught. What will happen, to my mind, what I feel is that, see, the number of books sold may remain static, but the podcasts on those books will rise phenomenally. That's what I notice. That you write a book, you sell 10, 15,000 copies, you think it's great. But the number of people who are listening to you on the podcast is 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 1 million. So the point is that you could not have had so many people on the podcast if you did not have that original research which went into that.
Right.
So I think it is not an either or. Again, my point which I like to share with Anju again and with all of you is that it is not culture versus economics. It is
I
not
understand, sir.
culture versus defense. It is not this. When I was saying I'm not underestimating extracurricular, what I was saying is that the core has to be understood as the core, and the other things also have to be followed.
True,
So
sir.
That's, I think we are all on a
Same page, sir.
on a more or less same page. And with
Yes,
all
sir.
respects to Mahatma Gandhi, he was a absolutely great person. So, I think
Sir,
thank you very much.
We have very less time left now.
One
so
question.
open to
one-
questions.
Yeah, here.
Good afternoon. I am Anushka and I am pursuing Sanskrit and philosophy from Delhi University. And I have a question. What role does regional Indian literature plays in shaping India's global literacy? India's global identity. Sorry.
Ma'am, would you like to?
Very, very important. I think, जैसे let's look at Punjabi, for example. I mean, Punjabi plays a very, very important role in the diaspora. Very, very important role. So similarly, I think the way Gujaratis connect with Gujarati language, the way Bengalis connect with Bangla. So it's something that we've not really explored to the extent we should have explored. This is an area that we actually need to do more. And that's an area where a lot of state governments and the ICCR are doing a lot of this promotion. It's a very positive thing. I'm very glad that you raised this. And I'm very happy that a lot of work has now started happening in this direction. And this is also because today you find that a lot of translations are happening from the regional languages into English. Also, another thing that is happening is that a lot of these books are now written in the Roman script. They are written in the Roman script, but in Punjabi. So you have a lot of translations of Amrita Pritam, not in Punjabi, because the persons cannot read the Gurumukhi script. But they're happy to read it in Roman Punjabi. Like you have a lot of Urdu verses that are now coming up in Romanized thing. So one is language, one is script, one is the cultural connect. They are all related. So once people start doing it in the Roman script, then maybe they'll start following the Gurumukhi also. So I'm speaking from the perspective of Punjab. I'm sure they'll be able to add from the context of Gujarat and other languages as well.
I would like to just tell you that in ICCR, we had invited Pandits from different countries. There was a request from the Trinidad and Tobago and Suriname that they don't know, they have forgotten Sanskrit. Obviously, they are like 5 generations back, they were they're Grimitias. So we called them here. We designed a course that I did myself. We designed a course and we asked the university that, okay, can you kind of design a course so that they know the common mantra and they know the little bit of Sanskrit so that they can recite this mantra for the various rituals when they go back home. So we had like 25 from Trinidad and 25 from Suriname. This Pandit came and studied. So you can understand. So the demands of Indian languages are increasing. I'm not talking about Germany and all because he will think that I'm only talking about those white-skinned countries. But there are other countries also where these Indian literature and Indian scriptures, ancient languages are very, very well respected, and they want to learn, they want to associate. They know that if they learn Sanskrit, they can read Hanuman Chalisa. I had a special request when I was in Johannesburg. So I cannot read Hanuman Chalisa in Hindi. They had like Roman, and then in Roman they are written all the Hanuman Chalisa thing. So then I started a course in this thing for the simple Hindi thing, so that they can read that. So these are the very beautiful thing and very heartwarming that they want to connect with us on Sanskrit and all, and you are doing a great job. So hopefully your future is very, very bright. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more point. You see, the other aspect to this is the Vikram Seth's recent translation of Hanuman Chalisa into English. So this book is doing very well, and he's done it in a rhythmic meter. So what is happening is that, remember that English is also an Indian language. So a lot of our cultural spread that is happening, whether it is Salman Rushdie or whether it is some of our other, whether it is Maxim City by Suketu Mehta, a lot of India is also being represented through English language across the world. So, and we cannot underestimate that role. Victory City by Salman Rushdie is in fact a whole description of the Chola Empire. So I think a lot of very important cultural things are happening in the world. And as we become stronger, by the time we are 2047, I'm sure we would have done even better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We won't be able
My
to
one
take
question
any
is
more
that-
questions.
One question. I, Dr. Rakesh Kumar Rajak, Assistant Professor in Shyamlal College.
This is the last question, please.
Yes, ma'am. I am from the land of Buddha, Mahavir and Guru Gobind Singh and Karma Bhumi of Mahatma Gandhi. My one question is that in Bhojpuri language, because यह जो प्रोग्राम हो रहा है मैम, यह मैथिली भोजपुरी अकादमी के बैनर तले हो रहा है। तो हमार सवाल रुआ लोगन से ई बा कि जौन प्राचीन काल के नालंदा के बात हम कर रहल बानी, आ ओ समय में नालंदा में पाली या प्राकृत भाषा के एगो अपन बोलबाला रहे। ओ पाली या प्राकृत भाषा के फिर से मतलब कि जौन भाषा बहुत मतलब कि एथी हट गल बा अपना मुख्य धारा से, ओ भाषा के रउआ लोगन आगे बढ़ावे ला का कर रहल बानी, एकर जवाब हम चाहम कि भोजपुरी चाहे मैथिली में ही ये प्रोग्राम में देहल जाए तो अच्छा रही।
ऐसा है, हमें बात के जवाब दे दे रहा थी यहाँ के, हमारे तो आवाज़ न चल रहा है, लेकिन सुन लो, कोई भी भाषा चाहे वो बजिका हो, बजिका क्षेत्र के हती, चाहे वो मैथिली हो या अंगिका हो या कोई भी हो, अगर दुनिया में जाए के है तो ओकरा दूसरा लैंग्वेज में भी उतना ही प्राथमिकता मिले के चाहिए, चाहे वो महाकाव्य हो या कोई लोकल भाषा हो। याद रखो, अहाँ के भाषा अपना घर के लेल केवल बोली बन के रह जात। अगर बोली से भाषा बनावे के है तब बेटा के IAS बनावे के होत, और बेटा के IAS बनावे के लेल वो सब भाषा जे दुनिया में चले के लेल जरूरत होई छी वो अहाँ के जाने के होत। अपन भाषा पहले घर में बोलूँ, परिवार में ले जाऊँ और दुनिया में ग्रामेटिकल रूप से ओकरा प्रेजेंट करूँ, तो अहाँ तभी अहाँ दुनिया में पावरफुल हो सकै छी। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much, sir. So, on that note, a heartwarming note where we can see the positivity of rising from cultural preservance to cultural influence, I would like to thank all my panelists, and we would wrap up this round.
Yeah.